Hey class, as you are getting ready for your final presentation, I wanted to teach you quickly about Zotero. So let me start by sharing my screen. And remember, I had asked you to download the desktop version of Zotero earlier. Zotero is a nice literature citation storage software package that's free. So you don't lose access when you graduate and are off campus. It can be used online or on your desktop, so you can sync the two, whichever way you're using, and it can be used very easily with Microsoft Word. And Word is what we typically write our papers in. So I really enjoy using Zotero. And there's other options like Mendeley and EndNote, which are nice to use as well, but sometimes those can get pricey or they stop once you graduate. So I wanted you to learn learn a skill that you can use at any time. So to use this, you have to first import your citations before you can start discussing them in your paper. First, you have to import them, and there's a couple different ways you can import them. You may have saved them on your computer already, and then you're going to import them. Or you may be doing a literature review on our website, on our library's website, so you can save it that way. So I'll show you both ways. So one way is you may have lots of different articles and you just click and drag it into your library. And it's really easy. Then the other way I mentioned is you could be on a website. And you could be anywhere on a website, and maybe you want to access this website in the future, or maybe you're going to reference it in your paper. So you right-click, you go to Zotero, save to Zotero. I like to choose the web page with snapshot because websites can certainly change, and I may not remember why I wanted to access that website in the future, so I like saving a snapshot of it. And within saving it, I can select where in Zotero I'm going to save it. I may have several different subfolders. In this case, I'm just going to call it my library, so my big basic library of articles. And I can add in tags or keywords that are meaningful to me when I'm writing different papers. So who knows what I think is important, but whatever I think is important, I can add those keywords, and Zotero is going to save that website. It's going to save the data that I need, and it's going to use it in Microsoft Word in the format that the journal style uses. So it takes a lot of information and makes it very easy to use. I said another way you may add in sources is during a literature review using our library's website. So let's say we're doing our search and we want to pull up only peer review articles. So we'll scroll down, click that box by peer review, and we can narrow it down by year or author, lots of different things. And we can start reading through a lot of these. And as we're reading the full text or the abstract of the article, as we see that something's valuable that we want to use in the future, we can save not only the reference, so the information about this reference, but we can also save the PDF of it to access later. So we'll open up that PDF. We will click in our toolbar of our web browser. If we click on Save to Zotero, again, we can tell it which subfolder we want it in, and we can add these tags, whatever we want. We can separate them by commas, and it's going to save the metadata regarding the article, and it's going to save the actual PDF as well. So that's very helpful because in the future, when you graduate, you may not have access to these libraries that let you have articles. So it's nice to save the whole article now. But if you can't save the whole article, at least you could save, let me back up one. If you don't have access to the whole PDF, so if it's a journal subscription that our library doesn't subscribe to, you can at least save the metadata that told you the information about the article. So again, clicking on that feature. So several different ways to load in your information into Zotero. And within Zotero, you can organize these different articles. You can create new collection or new subfolders. And for our class, maybe you want to call it like Proposal 1.0 or Proposal 2.0 or whatever other articles that you're writing. You go to Unfiled Items, and then you just drag the articles that you want. Or you can save directly to that subfolder. And maybe you change your mind and you don't want to save it. You can always right-click on the article and you can say Remove from Collection. That's different than deleting everything. That is just moving it from that subfolder back into the unfiled, unfiled items. If you are confident you want to delete something, you can certainly right-click and move it to trash. In some cases, you'll have duplicate articles or duplicate resources, and that's fine. Sometimes you are going to use the same article in Chapter 1 and 2 and 3, or Proposal 1, Proposal 2, Proposal 3. So sometimes you want to have duplicate items. Sometimes you don't want duplicate items. So you can always ask it to find duplicate items for you, and then you can decide how you want to manage them, if you want to remove having duplicate or allow them to continue. So that's how you get your articles into Zotero and how you can play with it. You can also search by those tags. So if I type in urban, it's going to pull up everything that I had tagged as urban. Let me go into the unfiled. It'll be a bigger search. So these articles could be about urban bats or urban coyotes, or just definitions of urban, what makes something highly urban or moderately urban. So it could be anything dealing with urban. I could narrow my search even more and say urban bat activity. And now it's going to pull up just those articles that I had tagged with all of those features. So that's using Zotero when you're in it. Now let's say you are writing your paper and it's time to start adding in sources, because remember, if it's not an original idea of yours, you should be cautious and add in your references where you learned that information. So I give an example of a sentence I state, and now I need to give credit to the authors where I learned this. So when I'm in Microsoft Word, I just click on Zotero. The first thing I have to do in Zotero is tell it which citation style I'm using. Am I using Chicago? In this case, in our class, we're using JWM. If it doesn't appear, you just need to go to Manage Styles, search for it, and then you add it to your citation style list. And you hit OK. So now it knows when it's reporting the different citations, it knows to use just the JWM criteria. So author last name, comma, first initial, period, space, middle initial, period, space, comma, first initial, period, space, middle initial, period, space, last name, and then the article title, the journal, the year, the pages, things like that. So Zotero, working with Microsoft Word, knows all the rules of that citation style. So it makes it a lot faster than you manually typing in all the article names and all the author names and page numbers, things like that. This makes it a lot faster. So you told it which citation style to use. Now you're going to start adding in your sources. So you go to Add Citation, and I start typing up the author's last name, first author's last name, and I make sure I click on the correct, and now you can start to see why it's a benefit to remove duplicates. But you click on the correct article, and I have another paper to add in. So another paper stated a certain claim, and I want to reference it. So I click on it, and now I hit enter, and boom, it's in, and it's in the format that JWM wanted. Great. So now I'm done with that one. Now let's say I want to reference an article, but I want to start with including the author's name, and I just want the year in parentheses. I don't want author in here in parentheses, just the year. I can do that also by clicking Add Citation. I start typing in the author's last name. I'm going to click on it. Instead of hitting Enter, first I'm going to click within the article. I'll click on Suppress Author. I'll go back, and now I'll hit Enter. And boom, it added in the year. Now let's say I'm done adding in all of my sources. Now I want to add in my literature cited, and it will do it for me. I just go to Add Bibliography. Boom, it's there. Now you still have to double check everything and give spaces. You have to double check that it is in the right format, because when it was grabbing that metadata, the metadata for different journals may have different criteria. For example, Ecological Applications, I believe that's a journal of Ecological Society of America, they use all capital letters in their titles. But JWM doesn't allow that. So in this case, we're going to have to manually type in the title. You get the idea. So you want to make sure it's correct according to your journal style. And that's it. Then you just go to Save, File Save, and it's going to save all that information. Now you do have to make sure to have Zotero open as you are adding new sources, and as you're working in Microsoft Word, you have to have Zotero open. And you do want to refresh. So as you add in new sources, so in the middle of a sentence, you might remember something, you go do another literature review, you grab another article, you add it to your library, and you want to add it now into your paper. You do want to hit refresh, and it will remind you as well. It'll give you some tips, like I can't add in a citation if Zotero is off, or you need to refresh because something was added to one and it won't sync up unless both things are on. So your Zotero has to be on and Microsoft Word has to be on. You can also share your Zotero different subfolders. You can share it with others, which is a fun feature, especially if you're collaborating with others. And many people may want to add in some other articles. So there's some other fun features as well, but hopefully this is a good start for you for helping you with your final project, and I hope you have a lot of fun with Zotero.